Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first of its kind video class. In other words, it's just videos back and forth. Liberalism or Islam has the moral high ground. I'm joined with refuting Orientalists. Start the clock. Who has the moral high ground, Islam or liberalism? Politics should not be concerned about moral philosophy, instead of how to better societies in practice and efficiently run society on a day-to-day basis. Moral philosophy is often confusing and perhaps irredeemably unresolved. Yet politics have to deal with the urgency of the everyday life. In that sense, ideologues don't make good politicians because they are loyal to their ideals instead of people. And that is the first major problem with political Islam. It's not meant to serve individual social well-being, it's meant to serve Islam, the idea. It's not concerned with the day-to-day problems of people, the suffering and well-being of citizens. It's concerned to please Allah. Well-being is overshadowed by Allah's personal and political agenda, and therefore not a good political system. But how about moral? Can a bad political system be moral? Yes, if morality has nothing to do with suffering and well-being. My interlocutor will argue for a deontological type of morality, based on following rules instead of real consequences of actions in the real world, and moral character. He will then attempt some balance of God's abstract laws with well-being. Yet by doing that, he indirectly admits the urgency and weight morality evokes is because of well-being and not because Allah said so. If not, can he then argue the moral urgency of avoiding image making that according to Allah is as morally detestable as murder or rape represents true moral urgency?
Comments. The hadith is explicit on the point that just as oppression, obstinacy, stubborn opposition to the truth, and sticking to disbelief are reprehensive acts of sin, image-making is also a serious crime against Allah. The perpetrators of these crimes shall, therefore, be made to suffer humiliation before everybody and then consigned to the flames of the fire.
Image-making is an obvious example of Islamic morality doesn't represent intuitive moral weight and urgency, rather the obsess for Islamic piousness, which is far from what we humans recognize as morality. Liberalism, on the other hand, is morally superior as it aligns better to true morality, which is related to character, suffering and well-being.
Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum. In today's basically in this debate, we are arguing who has the moral high ground, Islam or liberalism. So, just before I get into my argument, I just want to focus a moment on the criteria. Any of the positions we take regarding in this debate, what is right, what is wrong, how we define what is right, what is wrong, in most cases will either be subjective or relate to the truth of Islam. But that's a different topic. So it seems to me to avoid that for now, it seems the best way to gauge moral superiority is look at the actions of both Muslims and liberals. Now I'll be using only one argument here because this is a short debate for the moral superiority Islam. Basically this is from the body counts of various civilizations. Now this was a study basically done on body counts of various civilizations from the past 2000 years. On the first number is Christianity with 180 million murders or deaths. On the second is atheism with about 124 million deaths. And on the sixth is basically Islam with 31 million deaths. Now, basically the liberal project has been going on for the past 2 centuries, right? And now if you look at the reference that I have given here, a lot of the murders committed by Christian civilization are actually under liberal, are actually murders that are done by liberals. For instance, all the massacre in the colonial wars, the both world wars. So most of the body count of the Christians here comes under the purview of liberals, and some of the atheist body count also comes under the purview of liberals, right? So I don't think it's an exaggeration to say there is more than 100 million deaths on liberals in just 200 years. Islam has been around for 1400 years. That's 7 times the amount of time that liberalism has had. Yet the body count of Islam is 31 million basically. And the body count of liberalism is 3 times that at least, with 1/7 the amount of time. So it seems to me quite clear that liberals have no leg to stand on in regards to moral superiority. Now, someone can try to use contentions that this basically is due to technology. That contention does not work. The simple reason being that if you look at the basically murders and basically Mongols happened, right? They committed their massacres without technology. So the contention on technology does not work. So I think this is quite a strong argument for the moral superiority of Islam and the garbage morality of liberalism. I'll continue in the rebuttal.
My interlocutor is a very intelligent young man. The problem is that he trusts Muslim sources, in this case, a book called War and Peace in Islam.
Share this with you. Now, I would agree with you. Obviously, now, throughout history, religions have been, and there have been some pockets of Islam and Muslims who have done some atrocious things, no doubt. I'm not denying this. But so have the anti-theists too. And interestingly, Christianity is right up there, and Christianity is right up there with a figure of, let me see here. So it shares the largest with between 119.42 million and 236.66 million victims, right? Medium of 178.04.
But if instead watched my videos, he would have known that this book is Islamist propaganda.
Oh, you got the book over there.
First of all, let's see the distinguished academics who wrote this book. Is the nephew of the late King Hussein of Jordan, is chief advisor to the Prime Minister of Turkey. Oh, and some guy from Malaysia, in other words. World War II, 52 million. it was done by Christian and Buddhist. These guys blame World War II to Christianity and Buddhism. These guys blame World War II to Buddha and Jesus Christ. Then we go to World War I, 66 million. It was Christians. And look at these people. In the World War II, they also added Buddhists because of Japan. But now, in World War I, they don't add the Ottoman Empire. Why? This is the false cause fallacy. Correlation doesn't equal causation. To validate atrocities done by atheists is because of atheism, he needs to drive a connection of atheist dogma to these atrocities. Atheism has no dogma, therefore this endeavor is impossible. In contrast, we can easily drive a connection of atrocities done by radical Islamists to specific doctrines in Islam. Offensive jihad, martyrdom, the constant demonization of disbelievers in the Quran, and the negation of human rights by Sharia are some of the reasons contribute to the atrocities we see from radical Islamists. And those are in direct connection to Islamic doctrines.
Bismillah. So in this rebuttal period, I'll be responding to the argument my interlocutor made in his opening statement. So here was his argument. The Islamic morality is based on pleasing Allah. It is not based on the well-being of others, and it is not based on an objective true morality, on a true morality. Hence, it shouldn't be taken seriously. So I'll now be rebutting this. For Here's the rebuttal. Okay, so what? Literally, so what? How does that show that Islam does not have the moral high ground or that liberalism has the moral high ground? See, liberals can assume the harm principle, they can assume their morality is the true morality, but there's a difference between assuming something and proving something, right? Islamic morality is based on pleasing God, but to prove Islamic morality, we go into the arguments for Islam. Liberals just assume their morality and want others to take it seriously. Why? Moreover, it can be easily shown that the liberalism does not lead to the well-being of others considering the liberal body count. The example I brought up in the previous, in my opening statement. I mean, you can't be claiming about basically liberalism leading to the well-being of others when basically committing massacres, while at the same time committing massacres and genocides left, right, and center. It doesn't work that way. And I'll give you another example of basically liberalism not leading to well-being of others, because this is the liberal claim, right? So I'll be rebutting it. Here's a very simple example. Just take the comparison between the lands Muslims conquered and the lands liberals conquered. Andalus and the Ottoman Empire were strong, prosperous states where both Muslims and non-Muslims prospered. This is something that both Muslims and non-Muslim historians will admit. This is a fact of history, and uh, so this is not. And I can give more multiple references for this in the next section, but this is something that is generally admitted by historians. Liberal colonial empires, on the other hand, basically butchered, massacred, and robbed the entire world. I mean, that's what the liberal colonial empires did, whether in America, whether in Africa, whether the genocide they committed, whether the genocide the French committed in Algeria. Liberalism has no claim to moral superiority. I mean, to be blunt, liberals were the world's first drug dealers who pretended to China, right? The Opium Wars. So liberals have no claim to moral superiority. In fact, the liberalism has garbage morality, if anything. So this is my rebuttal. Inshallah, in the next section will basically be the closing statement.
As I said in my opening statement, morality might be irredeemably unresolved. Due to the inevitable state of human affairs, we can only use effective reasoning based on empirical and logical evidence to estimate true morality. Yet my interlocutor already admitted that Islamic morality is based on pleasing Allah and not on evidence relating to well-being. An illustration of this concept is drawings of children and then fixing reality to fit these drawings. Allah's moral commands are true. We need to tune reality to fit His commands. Yet that brings teratogenesis, like ISIS in other words. Muslims will follow Sharia times in contrast to their moral conscience and moral reasoning. They will follow Islam even against clear empirical evidence. Yet that is exactly the moral philosophy of ISIS. Can my interlocutor therefore claim ISIS have a true moral philosophy? According to Allah's moral priorities, they are certainly better than Norway, populated by atheists. Another problem with this type of deontological morality is that it leads to blind faith. How my interlocutor knows Allah is true when even if He commands the most abhorrent things, He will still call Him moral and therefore true. And what's more, how he knows Allah is not the devil. My interlocutor then claims he can easily show liberalism doesn't lead to well-being. I beg to differ. I think we have clear evidence that it does. Besides, liberalism, in antithesis to Islam, has focal point well-being, not pleasing Allah irrespective of well-being, responds to evidence and social pressures that steer to well-being. Islam treats humanity like babies, incapable to know right from wrong unless they are fed morality with a spoon. In that sense, humans are not expected to be moral agents. They are expected to be obedient robots or slaves. That by itself reveals a moral problem, doesn't it? But I don't have time to get into this. To conclude, Islam doesn't care about consequences of actions in the real world, doesn't focus on character. It calls for the ontology. If, like me, you don't think the ontology is the true moral theory, then you think Islam is not true.
Bismillah. So I'm just doing now the closing statement for this debate. I have a lot of contentions to address too, right? So first, I'll just start. Firstly, the point about Muslims saying that Buddha and Christianity caused World War II. Muslims are not saying that. The Europeans were a Christian civilization. They are characterized as a Christian civilization. The Japanese were a Buddhist civilization. This particular study is not saying Buddha was responsible for World War II. I mean, this is just a stupid claim. Secondly, he says that because the Muslims did this study, hence it doesn't work, right? It shouldn't count. This contention doesn't work because you can bring a Christian or an atheist or a liberal. I can say the same thing. This claim doesn't work. Thirdly, they are giving their references, right? The references are given, so this finding is worthless. Fourthly, he said that the Muslims should have included Islamic civilization in the World War I as well. I agree, it should have been here, right? So what I'll do is I'll just add 20 million to the Muslim body count. It's 31 million, let's make it 51 million. The problem for you is, for the Christians and liberals and atheists, is that their body count is still orders of magnitude above more than the Islamic body count, and in an extremely limited amount of time. Islam has 4100 years, 1400 years, and liberals have what, 200 years. Atheists have maybe 100 years, and their body count is double, triple, 4 times the body count of Islam. So Christians and liberals and atheists have no leg to stand on here. By the way, most of the Christians here are liberals. Quite a lot of the atheists are liberals, but he's interested in defending atheism as well. So this problem applies to atheists as well. Now, his claim is basically that correlation does not equal causation, and that even though Christians and liberals and atheists are doing this, they are not. Atheism, Christianity, and liberalism are not to blame for this. This contention does not work, and I'll give a very simple reason for it. How are we to know who has a claim to moral superiority and who doesn't? This is the topic of the debate, right? And my interlocutor is trying to frame which has a better impact on society, Islam or liberalism, or what is better for society, Islam or liberalism. Either case, either definition we take, right? We have to judge a group or people by their actions. The amount of slaughter, butchery, rape, and massacre done by Christians and liberals and atheists is actually mind-boggling. If they are doing this, how can they, in their right minds, claim that they have a claim to moral superiority? I mean, the level of cognitive dissonance here is actually quite impressive. That's just my time. Inshallah, I hope maybe we'll try to do a longer debate on this topic. That's my time.
Thank you very much. Whoever is interested in this kind of debate, send me a message on Twitter. I engage all subjects. Thank you very much. See you.